Jai Gurudev Rishi Aaradhaka.
Jai Gurudev Swamiji.
Welcome to my podcast. Very happy to have you on for the first time.
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. Let's see.
So again, following the same idea that we've always had, it's about having conversations with people that I'm having these conversations with in the real world, in real life, and then bringing them on camera. And I'm happy to have you this time, and hopefully it's the first of many more in the future. So for those of you who don't know, Rishi Aaradhaka is from Brazil. He is a very, very talented musician. He's known Guruji now for 12 years.
12 years, yes.
And has a really rich history in Bhakti Marga's Kirtan. And so we want to unpack a lot of that today and speak about music and Kirtan and everything that surrounds that, because it is a lot and it is very important to understand it, I think, in the right way. So I wanted to start with that. But I wanted to start with you a little bit more. So obviously I know you since 2011, and I've always known you as a musician even before you got involved with Kirtan and Guruji's side of things. Talk to me a little bit about your sort of upbringing with music, your influences, what you did, because I think it's important for people to understand the contrast.
Yeah, for me it was the most natural thing, because for my mother's side family, they are basically all musicians. Some are not professional, but all of them are musicians. And for my father's side family, there are some musicians as well. And my mother and my father are musicians. In the case, it's a profession as well. They're now both retired, but so for me, it was the most natural thing. Even though there was never pressure from home, there was never pressure into being a musician. We always got classes. I started with the violin when I was 6 or 7, and then I didn't want anymore because I wanted to play football. My mom said, no problem, sell the violin. And then I played piano at home a little bit, and then I got a guitar when I was 11. And with the guitar, my dad first taught me some things. And then after 1-2 years, I already composed some songs, made a little school band. So I called my parents and said I would like to have a teacher and take it more serious. It was actually coming from my side. And then they happily started giving me, paying for lessons. And I also had some little privilege because my parents worked in the university of Bahia. And the school has this theory music courses in the evenings where you normally have to pay. It's like the advanced students, they gave theory courses for the population for very low prices. And I could go for all these classes for free because everybody knew my parents. And I did these courses again and again. So I finalized the basic theory course in the university, of the extension course of the university. Like when I was a child and a teenager, I was just going back and back because I just liked the atmosphere and liked to be there. And then, yeah, that's it.
Would you think 11 is a good age to start something? Because I from what I hear from people, it might even be a bit late, no, to start.
It's still a good age.
Yeah.
But if you want to be like a big virtuoso, one of the top in the world, is close to late. Like say, I studied partially in Brazil and partially in Germany, in the university. And in Germany, if you are 25, 26, they already don't take you. Brazil is not really like this. Brazil has this very open democracy. It's less competitive. Like if you pass the exam, you are always welcome and you are a human being. But actually in Germany, like if 25, 26, 27 is officially the cut.
I mean, obviously, I'm asking only in a sort of traditional setting, because for Kirtan, you can start at any age. And
yeah, I'm talking this. Back then, I barely knew what was Kirtan. I actually, because of my other spiritual background before I met Guruji, since I am 16, I was already introduced to Kirtan.
Right.
So I was in the Self-Realization Fellowship in Brazil. They had, like in my city in Salvador, they had a quite big center. So on the main events, they gathered 150 people, but the normal service days, maybe 10 people, 15. And then my day was Saturday, so the day was I usually went there, and I was kind of the main musician. So they brought me a harmonium and tabla. So I learned some basics of harmonium and tabla already when I was 16, 17.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, little known fact, I also took violin lessons when I was younger. Yeah. My mom put me to learn violin with a Russian teacher.
Traumatized.
And I was fully traumatized. I gave up very quickly because she was so demanding. Like, she never smiled. She was always like demanding so much. Anyway, I quit. Then I moved over to guitar, and then I quit like within 3 lessons.
Never heard anything of it.
But that's because I I did something at the music school. I broke one of their doors, and then I never wanted to show my face there again. Anyway, but also football was a good reason for me to stop with the music stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, that aside.
Anyway, the Russian school is very famous for being very, very strict.
Yeah.
They say 10,000 hours of practice, and then they say 10 years of practice, and then comes the fun.
Then comes the fun.
That's the
Yeah, I'm glad I quit after 6 months. I didn't wait 10 years. You know,
that's the old school then, but
yeah. It's funny to hear all this because, of course, obviously, music is very mainstream. It's a worldwide thing. Of course, musicians everywhere, obviously, but it's like so few people see the behind the scenes of what it takes to become a professional musician. Because for most people, music is a hobby. Music is something they do on the side. It's something they listen to, or they'd like to play an instrument as a hobby that they do in the weekends or something like this. And I think very few people get an insight into the demands of a professional music career. And you were saying that you had musicians in your family. Were any of them also like professionally trained? And so you see, like that's an advantage almost that you have of understanding that environment. No?
Let me say something interesting. For example, in my mother's family, so my mom, there are 7 siblings and 4 Prabhus, 4 guys. So my grandmother gave them the name of famous classical composers. So how far it comes, like we have Amadeo, an uncle called Amadeo because of Mozart.
Yeah.
One called Theodore, I think called of Stravinsky is Igor. I forgot who is Theodore now. João, because of Johann Sebastian Bach. And Louis, like my birth name as well, for Ludwig van Beethoven. So actually my grandmother already named her sons after classical composers.
I was going to say that there was some divine plan for you to be, raised in this environment so that you could perform your seva here, but actually this plan is going generations back
generations
already.
behind.
Long-term planning. Nice. Okay, so you have this musical background, you did all of this. You worked professionally as a musician once you became an adult?
Until I became a monk in 2015. I was always working, teaching and playing.
Teaching and playing, okay.
Yeah. My first guitar student, I was 14, because I was always like that advanced guitar guy in the school. So and then I was playing in rock bands in the town. So people kind of in the scene got to know me. And when I was 14, 15, I already got some students and got my pocket money by myself and take like 1 hour bus to the other side of the city and teach a little bit.
I've seen some pictures of you back in the day in your rocker days.
In the rock Swarupa.
Yeah, rock Swarupa of Aaradhaka. This is a very, very intimate thing you need to see one day. But anyway, moving on. So you meet Guruji, 2011, and obviously, well, as with everybody, it takes some time to get more and more into things. When did your like real involvement with Bhakti Marga music and Kirtan like start? How did it start for you? Do you remember still?
Yeah, I do remember. In 2012, it already happened, let's say. In 2011, when I met Guruji, it was first before I met Guruji, I met Swami Kanjalochana. Back then his name was Brahmacharya Chaturananda.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
And he gave a music course in a yoga festival in South Germany. It's a festival that sometimes still happens, Bhakti Yoga Summer. The organizer is a friend of us, friend of Guruji. And I went to that festival. There was Swamis from other traditions and a lot of yoga classes. And I went there and I watched this music class. And I thought, okay, the music class is okay. But the monk that is speaking, he seems like a really nice guy. So I went to talk to him and we became instantaneously friends. And we talked about God for hours that night. We were crying talking about God.
Wow.
So we became, it was like a instantaneous friendship, like a whole night just talking about God and Guru. And he said, so you have to come to meet my Guru. I said, no, I have already my Guru. I'm not interested in any Guru.
Paramahamsa Yogananda, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm not interested in, sorry, but he said, yeah, but you have to come to visit me because I'm a friend. I said, okay, I come to visit you. So I came because of Kanjalochana. And then I met Guruji here. And so in this conversation I had with Kanjalochana, of course I told him what I do professionally and I actually even had some tablas at home that I barely played. I went to Varanasi and took some little classes and stuff. I was very bad, very, very, very bad tabla, actually less than basic. Like Taginatuna Kadina and some Tintal, that was it. And but playing guitar and stuff. And then he kept going for these festivals. And in the next 1-2 years after we met, and he always invited me. So actually, since the beginning, somehow I was supporting him. So he went to this festival in other places of Germany, and I already played some instruments and accompanied him. And we did some stuff together. And I used to sing a little bit of the kirtans that I know from before, and some simple things that I could listen from Guruji and from Bhakti Marga. Of course, it took me only 3 months until my crisis was overcome and I fully understand who is Guruji in my life. It was a little beautiful process. That meeting was actually amazing. But just one interesting story about Guruji's participating in Bhakti Marga Kirtan. So I came a couple of times here and I could feel the eyes that not everything was fully correct in the Sangha, but I kept going because I know you just have to keep going and learn.
Musically speaking.
And so I met Guruji and I had this ticket already bought with me and my ex-wife that we visit Varanasi in Vrindavan. So I met him, but we already had this ticket purchased. We flew, and in Vrindavan, so I used to have an old Toyota car with tapes. So in Vrindavan, I saw a bunch of tapes to buy in the street. I thought, wow, they still have tapes here, and my car has still tapes as well. So I randomly bought kind of bunch of tapes. That's a very nice story. So I got this tape, and one of them had this kirtan that Guruji was singing the whole time, and I didn't know. This Piya Radhe, Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Piya Piya. The whole medley exactly was Radhe Radhe in the end. No? And I heard actually later on that the singer that's singing that tape came to visit Guruji in Stephanshof. So I just in the streets of Vrindavan got that tape. And
in England also, yeah.
Yeah, so I listened, there were 3 tapes I bought. I was basically only listening to those 3 tapes because they were the only tapes I had in my car. Took the whole time. So there was a Sunday prayer in the darshan hall. Remember when they were kind of renovating, building the So they moved every deity, back then was so many deities, like small deities. They moved everything to the darshan hall for some time. And that was one of the first Sunday prayers I actually participated. And then I sat there and I started singing this kirtan from the tape. And Guruji arrived. So he sat close to me and he sang the whole thing with me. So that was somewhere in the first half of 2012. And I didn't know that even Guruji and Bhakti Marga devotees do that kirtan. So that was very interesting. So that was the first time. This, and then was some Shri Ram, Jai Ram kirtan. Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, this is obviously my memory of you getting involved in kirtan is different. But when I was, in my early years of Bhakti Marga, I was doing quite a bit of kirtan, also because of necessity, smaller community, nobody really knew how to drum, and I could do something, and just playing on manjiras, these kind of things, singing once in a while. But there was one brahmachari we had, Dharmananda, so he was heading up our music at the time, and so we used to do some concerts with him, and we were doing a lot of music. And then I remember when you were coming in, it 1.5 years later coincided with Dharmananda passing away, and so my biggest memory is sort of your initial presence and arrival in kirtan was really that transition. So when after Dharmananda left, there was this almost like a vacuum of like, okay, so who's going to take music forward, also teach us, and a lot of different things like that. And then I remember you somehow becoming more, in that position and more prominent and stepping up. So that would be my sort of first memories of you getting involved. But going off of that, so you come in and you get more involved in the kirtan, you take more even leadership into that. The thing that I'm curious to hear is that from somebody with your background, obviously you already made a comment, musically, we have not always been the cleanest or the best in many aspects in Bhakti Marga, and we all know that there's some singers, they get on the mic, they're not singing to a standard that anybody outside would listen and go, that's a beautiful singer, that's a great voice. I always think to the times when I used to watch these TV shows like American Idol and X Factor and all this, and there's always those people that come on stage to sing and you go, oh, like it's a joke, people laugh, about how bad they are. And I think sometimes we have some of those singing here too. but that isn't the way it's perceived in a way. Like everyone's just like, they rock a little bit and you
yes
go
and
into
no.
it.
Yes and no.
Right?
Yeah.
And I want to touch upon that a little bit. Like, what was your initial, because I think now we have a different perspective on it perhaps, but initially when you encountered that kind of musical standard, if you want to call it.
Yeah, there's so many points. We could do a whole podcast only on that. Because I
Because I
understand
think it will help people, because I think a lot of people listen to Kirtan sometimes and they go,
what is going on.
This is not that
Yeah.
musically clean, let's put it like this. So what's your take on that?
First, we have to put in context that we understand how Guruji's culture in Mauritius started. Like when I'm giving music courses, when I have the chance to talk a little bit, I always put people into this context. We can go further deeper on it later if you want, about the different styles and how open Bhakti Marga is. Because people often ask me, I got a message some days ago from Czech Republic, some teacher asking me, what is the style? Can you write in short sentences, what's the style of Bhakti Marga Kirtan? I said, there's actually Mauritius. There's a Hindu temple here, a Tamil temple here, a Telugu temple. They get together and they sing, and they all feel Bhakti from each other's culture as well. Bhakti Marga is not born in West Bengal or Tamil Nadu, and we follow that cultural aspects in the music. So we happily mix and we feel that devotion in all those aspects. And also there in going back to Mauritius, they have always this sangha where they come together and sing. It's not only the professional singing. The aunties come and sing and they clap and there's joy there. And Guruji brought this, of course, in the Bhakti Marga culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it has never been about a beautiful music performance. When somebody sings nicely, naturally you are happier and you participate. Well, it's fine. Sometimes the person comes with a lot of shyness and difficulty to sing, and everybody supports even more. Or sometimes somebody sings very weirdly and nobody supports, but everything is somehow welcome because it's a practice of getting together and singing the name of God.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. But when I came first in the first temple gatherings here and also in the darshans, I got to be very honest, I got shocked. I got
That's what I want to hear.
Shocked. I just made a big curve to get there, very diplomatically. But I got shocked, but from two things. One is negative, one is positive.
Right.
First, I saw like, oh my God, some people are so bad. They have no idea what they are doing. Like they have no idea. I remember seeing Guruji sing a bhajan, which was like a 3 beats, a dadra tal, like 1, 2, 3, and the mridanga playing 4.
Mm-hmm.
Playing like a normal, we call Revatikaanta for the musicians, like the mridanga playing a normal ta, gina, ta, ta, ding. So contradiction, like not possible to coexist, but they just keep going for 7 minutes, like nobody's hurting, nobody's dying, but I was like, all my organs were upside down. It's like, how can they do this for so long? So that's things that I realized. Okay, we can help this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, on that same day of this darshan, where I saw some very weird things happening, like basic musically, at the same time, I saw Guruji also singing a kirtan that I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was already Tukaram, Namageta, something like this. When the crowd sing together, the energy of that moment coming from Guruji and coming from that kirtan, I never felt before.
Mm.
I've been to thousands of symphonies, thousands of all kinds of concerts and amazing jazz musicians. In jazz, look, the great jazz musicians, they are like enlightened beings, they're like gurus.
Yeah.
And I've been to so much stuff and I encountered all sorts of music, but I never felt this. And nobody's there is professional. And so that kind of shocked me as well, because I got both punches at the same time.
Yeah. Do you think that speaks to the difference between the contents of Kirtan, which is the holy name, and the meaning, the intention, and then on the other side there's the actual musicality? Like there's two things that sometimes I think need to be separated.
Yes.
Because I think that it's a big part of my experience with Kirtan. Like I loved Kirtan for the content, how it made you feel, the vibe, the intention, what it is. Musicality was something that I love. I love music as a general thing, but it's a much harder thing to accomplish, ironically. Like either you have talent or you don't in many cases.
Kind of, yeah.
You know, you can train. I'm not saying you can't, of course, and you can develop. But we all know that there is, you know, God-given talent.
There's something that is given or that came from whatever before.
Yeah, it's just, you know, get 5 people in a row to open their mouth and sing and you'll know the difference immediately. Yeah.
That's an eternal discussion in the academic world. What talent or Begabung in German. Like they discuss it. Still nowadays, what this exactly means, they don't know exactly.
Tell me a bit about it. I'm actually curious what that side of the world thinks about it. Because we can say, oh, it's, you know, past samskaras, it's something you get from lifetimes or whatever, but what is the opinion?
It's because there's the natural musical talent that some people are born with. Like you can recognize in children that some are born with an ear that they can do things that other children cannot. So that's obvious to recognize. But there is other kinds of talent that exist in a person or can be developed that can play a big role and can be even eventually more important than the direct musical talent. Like, for example, the person who has a predisposition to practice is that kind of talent. So they discuss, how far is that also talent or how this play in a role? But some people have the natural talent of liking to sit with the instrument with discipline and sit for 2-3 hours and practice something. And sometimes people who are born with this easy of playing things like this never have the disposition of practice. So sometimes the talent of having discipline is stronger than the talent of naturally singing in pitch, for example. And so all those things play a big role. And of course, academically in the musical sciences, they don't believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, sure.
So they cannot explain
where that comes from.
Where does this come from? So they believe the potential is there for everyone. You are born with this, more developed or not, for whatever genetic reasons, but everybody has the potential in there and it can be developed.
But do you not think some of the things are just physical? Like, for example, your vocal cords or your ear, your ability to hear certain things, it's just you physically have it or you physically don't. Whereas other things, like understanding music theory and notes and then playing something like a piano, I'm not saying you can't also have talent in that respect, but theoretically you can practice and learn it because it's a question of understanding things. It requires less of a physical capacity in your fingers, let's put it like this, than the quality of your vocal cords or your ear or something like this.
Yes.
No?
But also, some people are born with the difficulty of reproducing a good sound just because they, for whatever life habits, they speak wrong and they use the vocal cords wrong.
Okay.
And once they fix it, the way they project, the way they breathe, the way the posture works, and then the voice is there. You know, other people, they naturally have this good posture, the good projection. So it's not necessarily the voice. Because basically the vocal cords are 2 muscles. It's this muscle that expands and tightens itself in order to produce the sound. And it just, So that's a eternal discussion. There's no very clear answer to that.
Okay.
But sometimes you just clear it up around with technique and there's a beautiful voice there. And some people already have this beautiful voice because for whatever reason they are already unblocked.
Got it.
Understand?
Yeah.
And some people get blocked from life. Like how many guitar students I had, like I cannot even count. They came to me and said, I would like to learn that song. Well, okay. Then we learn the song. Then I say, sing a little bit of the song so you're going to play better in rhythm. So no, I cannot sing. Like in Germany, it was like the whole time this. What do you mean? No, I cannot sing. Like, how? Why? Like, I never sing. Like when I was a child in the choir, the teacher looked at me and said, you cannot sing, out. So from 5 years old, from 7 years old, you got this trauma and they are blocked from singing. And then after, eventually, if they are open, you work a little bit on that and then they open themselves and very often a very nice voice comes. Sometimes just shyness is fear of being judged. You know, there's so many things around that voice aspect. That's why it's very difficult and very beautiful to work with voice because you can teach piano or guitar, you put the finger here, you show the position of the wrists, nice. But voice is inside the body.
Yeah.
So you cannot touch the vocal cord and from inside and show how it. You have to give the example, show some exercise, but the person has to develop it.
Makes sense.
By herself. You know?
Makes sense. So coming back to this point of musicality and sort of the content of Kirtan being distinct, do you feel, because it's an observation I've made and I'm curious to hear what you think, that sometimes too much focus is put on the musicality and too little on the intention and content and what the real purpose is, because in the majority of music in the world, musicality is the point. It's about being musical and the artistic sort of quality and competence of it, and the content is a secondary thing. Like, I know so many people growing up that they said, oh, I love listening to music, but the lyrics for me were always a secondary thing. Like, I care about the lyrics, but they're not the most important. Okay, I also knew some that said, no, for me the lyrics are more important.
Yes.
But I know that this exists. In Kirtan, I don't think anyone can have that opinion. Like, oh, I like the melodies, but the lyrics not so much. It's like, well, that's the name of God.
It's about
it's the whole point, right? So there, do you think sometimes that there is still maybe that old samskara or like this overemphasis on the musicality? Because like you had that judgment that day, I know many people who judge a lot of kirtanyas, a lot of bhajans and temple prayers and whatever by saying, oh, I don't come to the prayers because the music sucks today. And you're like, yeah, but it's still holy name. You know, it's still the holy name.
If that stops you, you should look at yourself a bit deeper.
Right. So tell me what you think about that whole musicality versus content.
I agree that sometimes people take it too far, putting the importance of the music on the name. So that should not be the case, obviously. You can just observe how Guruji himself plays this game. Guruji obviously doesn't want to be seen as a singer. He wants to be seen as a guru that sings. And purposely makes mistakes and sing difficult things that he's not trained to make it sweet and approachable for everyone. So he makes it like obviously for us. Yeah? There's many aspects to it. When we are teaching, I also tell the people, look, Kirtan, it's for everyone. It's sadhana, it's Yuga Dharma.
Explain that, please, for the people who don't know.
It means that we are now in Kali Yuga, one of the 4 eras of humankind which are cyclic. And in the current era, Kali Yuga, the holy name of God is the most important spiritual practice.
To chant and sing the holy name of God. Okay.
To chant and repeat his name.
Any name? From your opinion?
From my opinion...
What have you heard from Guruji?
What I've heard from Guruji is mainly the name of Lord Hare. But if you sing other names...
But any name of Lord Hare, right?
Any name of Lord Hare, the name of Narayana. But actually I also heard Guruji singing, you can just sing any name because Devi and Shiva, they will also bring you to him. So, but the emphasis is of course on that supreme one that we call Narayana.
Yeah.
Or Krishna or Hare or whatever. Where we were. So when I'm teaching, I say, please, everybody can sing and never stop people from singing. But you all see there is, every case is an individual case. And if you want to take this as seva, and then you have to take it a bit more serious. Because when you do Kirtan seva, is your job also to inspire the devotees into singing together instead of just blaming them for not being spiritual enough.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
You have to make it in a way that they will naturally feel inspired and wanting to sing and create this group energy of devotion to the Lord. And that's why I think like when you do it as a seva, you need to understand also the other aspects, which anyway come from Sarasvati, come from Vedic sources eventually, of even the first swaras, the first name of the notes. Is not our main point of concern, not at all. Some people are naturally so good, they don't even need to think about it. But if you do as a seva, and if you would like to teach, of course, and help others, you need to have a basic. So if you are untrained, you can also sing in an event. But if you sing really bad, that it hurts everybody's ears, it's better you don't sing in an event. But you can always sing in your local sangha or in your home or in your whatever. To sing and to chant and repeat the name of God should be done by everyone. But in bigger events, there's a certain responsibility. I like to make the picture of use the image of a picture of a painting. You know, like Bhakti, the music in Bhakti is full of ornaments, full of sweetness, because you want to give your best to the Lord. Our paintings is like this, a devotional painting. I'm not talking about a modern, contemporary thing, like which is the square.
Interpretive art, yeah.
You're gonna look at this Radha Krishna painting we have everywhere. Like the painter express himself and put all this little ornaments and these beautiful things, and he put his whole heart into the little details And the little details are really fine. And if this picture is weird, you're not going to hang on the wall. It's not going to inspire anyone.
Yeah.
So if you just say, oh, that's how I sing, that's for my heart, so Guruji has to accept it. Yeah, he will accept it spiritually, but you don't hang it on the wall. Because you're not going to help the song, you're not going to help the mission, you're not going to help the people, just like a picture. Because music is actually a picture, just a different kind of vibration of colors and sounds, just a different level of vibration, but they're all vibration.
But that points to a nice area. Actually, I had this question some time back to myself, because it's one thing to serve Guru and God. Another thing is to serve Guru and God in a way that allows everyone else to join in the service, in a sense, right? That is also for the people. And for me, it comes a little bit into this question of Kirtan as a service or Kirtan as a performance. Because one thing is, let's put it like this. You got in the harmonium, you want to sing a bhajan, for example. And you start to sing, looking at the deity, it's for them, clearly. And you know the people will join in because that's the format.
Yes.
But it's for them, and you're not really bothered. I've seen that. I don't really have anything against it. And then you have the other side where people, they're singing, but they're engaging a lot with the public, and there's a back and forth, and there's like this thing of like, let's get together. Still with the focus on the deities. And then I think sometimes there's a third one where it's like, it's only this. It's only like, we almost forget the deities are there, forget Guruji's there or whatever. And it's just like a social event where everyone's together and you're getting into it and you're dancing. And I think sometimes it appears to be like the ideal Kirtan.
That you can leave it.
But it's not, because you've gone too much into serving the people. Whereas, is it not the ideal is to serve Guru and God, but make it in a way that everyone can serve with you? Does that make sense?
Does make sense.
What is your experience on that? What is your opinion even?
I have two things in my head now. One, first, it depends on also what it means to serve the people, because the people here are devotees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing, what it means and with which attitude this is being done. So, of course, when it's obviously an ego show, it's very difficult to talk about the things in judge, because who are we to actually really judge, But we know that this exists and we all can feel it. When it's an ego show,
obviously,
that is terrible. And when it's not, but the person is really expressive, it's actually nice. Because to serve the devotees, it's not necessarily a problem. But how you are doing it, The thing that, would you agree with me that, for example, take some kirtanias that are like this extremely in the outside, engaging and doing things and looking, laughing and turning the back and it depends on who is doing it. Person A will be doing it, somehow you're going to feel, wow, that's nice. And person B is doing it, maybe it feels weird. And person C is doing it, maybe, yeah. And it's, we all can perceive how far in pride or in need of attention is the person, or how far in joy and love the person is doing it. So there's two things that play inside of, and we cannot avoid that this spreads throughout the Sangha. And it's a very difficult thing to judge and to say, but even there's cases.
Do you know why it's an interesting topic? Because if I see it like this, that let's say we're all devotees and one starts to lead the kirtan and there is that scenario playing out where the person is very focused on the devotees, the congregation of people, and then we're like singing together and building up this energy. I sometimes picture, well, first of all, to be clear, I'm talking about a temple setting, so the deity is there and all of this. I'm not talking about, out in the park, for example. Makes sense to do something like that. But let's say the deity is there. I imagine the gopis, they just start dancing with each other and Krishna is there standing on the side and they have their back to Krishna just dancing with each other. They'd never do it. I can't imagine myself thinking that they would do that.
Probably not, yeah.
And then I just go, okay, that doesn't mean that automatically these situations that we're describing are wrong, but there's something in it that makes me feel like it's wrong. I'm not someone to say that it's 100% clear that it's wrong, but I feel it is, and I'm not going to deny that feeling also, because I think it is important to also trust what you feel. And this goes for anybody, I think, in life. You don't need to be arrogant and be 100% certain, but don't also dismiss your own intuitions and inner voices and feelings and whatever. So I feel like when it comes to Kirtan, there are some parallels to my world as a public speaker and as a teacher, whatever. There is always this game going on internally of how much is too much? You know, where's that line that you don't cross? Because there is an intended purpose to this. And I think it speaks to one of the greatest differences between Kirtan and normal music. Because when you're a musician and you get up on stage, I mean, I think a big part of it is the recognition from the public. It's getting that adulation from the public. And even when it's not, even when it's just about the art, somebody gets there and they just want to express their musicality, right? Still,
for what?
What's truly behind that? It's like, okay, they just want to be themselves. They want to express themselves. Still, for what? At the end of the day, like to reverse engineer all the way back, why?
Yeah, they don't even know who are themselves. We don't even know who are ourselves. What am I expressing here?
There's always that question when you go to the core, isn't it? And I think so. As if we do the same thing with Kirtan, if you go to the core, what are we actually trying to do fundamentally? Like, I know circumstantially we don't have to always take it so seriously, because this is also a defect sometimes we have.
Yeah.
We take things too seriously, and it's like, no, sometimes we can also just be playful. I get it. But for a couple of minutes, let's just go to that serious side of things.
Let's go. That's amazing.
And you go all the way in and you say, what am I actually here to do? And I feel like a lot of the time, I don't feel like that has been a thought that people have gone through, that has not been a consideration, and it's clearly not manifesting externally, that level of depth and consideration. And I am judging, but again, I'm following what I see, what I feel, let's put it like this. And the reason I say that is because I've been involved in many kirtans.
Yeah, you used to be one of the main kirtaniers of Bhakti Marga until maybe you became Swami. Actually, when you became Swami for some time, you still did. We even had a plan to have a band together called Sharanagati that got cancelled by the Lord himself.
That's true. It was around that time, 14, 15, that I stepped out, 2014, 2015. And maybe if there's time, I can go into that. But no, but it was a conscious decision. It wasn't something by accident. And most people in Bhakti Marga these days have no idea that I used to do these things. But anyway, what I was saying is that because I've been in so many kirtan settings, and I tell you one thing, Aaradhaka, from my first days in Bhakti Marga, kirtan was what most captured my heart by far. I loved it. Every experience of the divine I had, that I could genuinely say this is a divine experience, was had in a kirtan round.
Wow.
Tears, just feeling your heart, feeling things that you don't feel in any other environment. And so I 100% believe in the power of kirtan, the authenticity of what can come from that. But this is also, it's been a double-edged sword. Because I had that, it made me very judgmental to situations where I would no longer have that experience. Yes. And a big factor of that, and I didn't recognize it perhaps at the time, was that it wasn't necessarily maybe the kirtan that was changing, it was me. Because there's two people at play here. There's me and the kirtan.
Yes.
We came together at a moment in the beginning where it made an explosion of emotion and good feelings. Maybe the kirtan changed, maybe I also changed. So there is that recognition, that acceptance also. But still, I feel like when I've counseled people about public speaking, they come to me, they say, Swami, give me some advice how to do this without falling for the game of ego and all of this. I always tell them, be clear about why you're doing it. I don't know any other way of getting out of these things. It's only clarity. The clearer I am about why I'm doing this and what I'm here to achieve, what is the goal I want from this, why, and what is the intended result. Not that I have to be attached to it, that's something else, but what is the intended result? I think sometimes people forget this about karma yoga also. Karma yoga is, I don't have an attachment to the result. Doesn't mean I shouldn't have an intended outcome.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what are you doing, right?
Yeah, of course.
You hit a drum, there's an intention to produce a sound, right?
Yes.
Don't get crazy now. So, okay. So what is the intention? What is the clarity? And I can speak for myself. I have my clarity. When I speak, when I do these things, I hope to achieve something very concrete.
But when you speak, you're also not looking to the deity, huh?
Yeah, but I don't think it's a setting for that. Because I'm not teaching the deities, am I? I don't think I go to a lecture to teach Krishna about Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, but the deity is happy to listen to your sharing as well.
Well, that's up to him, but that's up to the deity. You see, look, the difference I see there is, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm curious to hear. With Kirtan, we're singing for the deity, first of all. It's for the people as a byproduct. I think it's primarily for the deity. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay.
I don't think you are wrong.
Because that I see as a difference. I see my speaking is for the people primarily. Deity is a secondary thing.
But it's deity and people. It's not only deity. It's like,
okay, that's okay.
If the attitude is like, I don't care about the whole devotee sangha.
No, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't disagree.
But primarily, obviously, it's for the deity. And that's why there is this habit, this tradition of before you sing, you do your shloka, not always, but even for yourself, or you say Shri Gupyo Namaha.
With satsang also, no?
Or when you finish it, Krishna Paramahamsa and you give it to him. That's why, because you set the intention. Mm-hmm. And I think you are very correct with your perceptions. I agree 100%. Mm-hmm. It's just that that perfect Kirtan scenario, the perfect one, is performed by saints.
And yet I felt what I mean? And I wasn't with saints.
Yeah, and we are, because that's the power of the name. For a second, all the minds will stop. That's what we have to understand in the practice of Kirtan. Like, there will be a second or some seconds that the mind will stop. It can be a second, but in that second, so much love is going to pour inside of you from God that's going to be overwhelmed. That's going to be an amazing feeling. But it's just that second where your mind stops. But your mind has to reach that level first. And if the person is just singing badly and looking at the deity and singing out of pitch, no one's mind will stop. On the contrary, there will be.
So I know what you mean, yeah.
That's the game. It's such a subtle, complicated thing.
This is where I really have respect and at the same time fear almost of the domain of Kirtan these days, because
of that music corner.
Well, yeah, because I think there's a part of me that sees that exact balance. It's, you don't want to produce something that is musically incompetent, because you are serving the people also. You are also presenting something to God, and you want to do it with the best of your abilities. But you also know that there is that opinion that you had originally of that darshan you went to, of the bad musicality. Many in the room will have, if you produce something that is not adequate, right? So there's that consideration. Then there's another part of you that says, I don't want to care what people have to say, because I'm doing this for God. This is between me and Krishna right now. And I don't want someone else's potential opinion or judgment to poison my service.
But in the very realistic situation, like tonight, we have an event here in the temple. Yeah. I know I have space for maximum 5 bhajans. Yeah. Maximum.
Yeah.
So if I'm making the list and I'm helping to organize the event, will I choose the bhajans that I know it's going to be really nice? Mm-hmm. Or shall I just put this person, because I'm quite sure this person is going to sing from the heart, but maybe it's going to be odd, maybe it's going to be off.
But you have a unique position as an organizer of this, because you get to decide that.
Yeah. Today I gave Shaz the job, but yeah.
So good. Okay, but many times you have to decide who gets the opportunities, right? But taking that out, because that's an unusual situation. Yeah. You have that uniquely, and I pray for you. But someone who's in their own, like, I would like to come today to the music corner and offer a song to God. So many considerations have to go in your mind, because it's not so clean to just say, I'm going to do it for God and ignore the people. I agree with what you said. I have to also take into account
the devotees.
Yeah. If I only do it for the devotees and forget God also, then it's not going to be the real thing. Then I'm performing. I'm no longer doing a sadhana. I'm no longer doing a devotional offering to God. And so then it's like to have that interwoven. I have seen it happen, so I'm a believer that it's possible. And I've experienced the fruit that comes from that. It's beautiful. But like, so sometimes here's a cool thing that I think often plays at this. Guruji, we don't understand him many times, what he does and why he does. He has his own reasons, and he doesn't explain himself always. Yeah, but he has a greater love and a great affinity for complex bhajans, lyrically speaking. Yeah, also musically, but lyrically speaking. And it is, I think, a truthful statement that 95% of the people don't understand 95% of the bhajan that he sings.
Yes.
Sometimes he will explain the lyrics, and he's nice like that. He does a satsang where he says, the song I just sang means so-and-so. But the majority of the time, and we have to find the lyrics and we have to follow along, and even then we don't really know what it means, right? And there's been a part of me that's often thought, well, look at ISKCON, for example. Look at the Hare Krishnas. They chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Even the bhajans are a select group of bhajans.
Very, yeah. But let's say, just take the example of the Mahamantra. Everybody can sing along. Somebody off the street can listen for 5 seconds and then pretty much within a minute or two, they've got the thing going.
Yes.
That's not possible with Guruji. We've had so many darshan experiences. I mean, just this past week, where Guruji will sit in an audience and he'll sing one of his favorite bhajans, and the devotees who are more, let's say, experienced, they know and they, wow. And everyone else is just kind of like...
Yeah, but I think Guruji is giving a clear message there of people. It's nowadays so easy to find it. It's so easy. If you just show a little bit of interest, Guruji is singing this bhajan so much times, just go and get the lyrics, man. And look, we have Guruji's books nowadays with meaning for most of the bhajans. It just takes a little bit of interest.
This is what I wanted to hear. So why you think he does that? Because
he's quoting the translation of the bhajan sometimes without the lyrics in his satsangs. And you can see in the room who is connected, who is actually interested in knowing what Guruji is singing about.
Because the logical mind just goes, just sing something simple, everybody joins in.
Yeah. And the latest darshans, when we were traveling out the last week, most of the times he chose to sing simple bhajans because of that. Still, for example, in the middle of the Portuguese darshan or in the end, when he actually relaxes and really wants to sing whatever he wants to sing from his heart, and then he goes for Sandhyaneshwar, Rupapahata,
more complicated stuff again. Yeah.
But still, I think Guruji is pushing us and we should go together with him. That's clear, his message. So nowadays, you are just talking about the devotee base. You are literally one Telegram message away from getting the lyrics.
Yeah.
Like every country, if you don't write Rishi Aaradhaka or Shez or Firuz or Bhavani, you write your country music coordinator, and this person had the books of Guruji, and everybody can have the access for the books of Guruji, the bhajan books, and they have meaning for most of it. And even if you get a bhajan that the meaning is not written in there, or not on the Atma book where you have the meaning, it really, most of the times the bhajans are famous and you get them on Google. And even if you find them only written in Devanagari, you copy them and you find so many websites for transliteration, and you still get the meaning of it. So the meaning is, you don't need to travel to Kashmir and ask Sharada Devi to translate it for you.
I get it. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. It's good that you say this, because so for somebody who would have that criticism in their mind, maybe they've never voiced it or they haven't had a chance to say it to anyone to whom they might get an answer from, would it be fair to say that you think the reason Guruji does this is to push people towards a bit more depth?
100%, that's my opinion, yes.
Yeah. I think that's one of the major keys of everything we're discussing here. There is a simpler version, the more accessible version, perhaps a more fun version in the short term, and then there's the more deep that can lead to a more deep experience, the more deep version, right?
What is the function of bhajans in our spiritual life? Not kirtan. Kirtan is just repeating of the name, Nam Kirtan. But like bhajans, abhangas, Kabir dohas, like we have all these texts from Kabir. Guruji wants us to look at that. I know for the academy sometimes a bit challenging, but Guruji wants us to look...
We work to reconcile things. We try.
Guruji wants us to look into Guru Nanak and Kabir and Guru Govind's writings and be inspired by that devotion, and also the philosophical aspects that they touch, and is a class, is a lesson from the saint. Namdev, Tukaram, Sandhyaneshwar, like Guruji wants us to understand, and it's part of our spiritual life to get the inspiration from those lyrics and how he's expressing this. It's not really a song that you are supposed to jump. You jump out of joy as expression of bhakti, but to have the understanding is actually crucial. If you don't have means to get it, okay, you just enjoy the kirtan, the music, whatever. But Guruji expects the devotees to understand those lyrics he's singing when he's singing Tukaram, Gyaneshwar. I received a very beautiful message from a devotee after the Portuguese darshan. Guruji told us he gave darshan to himself. You said he divided his lower self from his higher self. He gave darshan to himself. It was very nice. And he shared the experience, how it is to give darshan from both sides, from both perspectives. And then I received a message, somebody saying, wow, that's like Rupa Pahata Lochani, that the one that he sang actually in the middle of the darshan. from the Aneshwar, when he said, like, when I have the darshan of your form, I experience pure bliss. That's the main lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that the Aneshwar, Saint Dyaneshwar, Guruji himself said, he was incarnation of Vithala, he was incarnation of Narayana. So it's like it's an avatar looking at himself in the form of the deity and experiencing bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy connected this with Guruji having darshan of himself and feeling bliss. And you know, like instantaneously the lyrics like, oh my God, it's just like Saint Dyaneshwar. And they're so inspiring for the devotees.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. I think I was reflecting here a little bit more on this whole music satsang lesson sort of thing also, that it brings out truths also in it. And I think we were discussing recently with some of the guys here in the knowledge department about some philosophical concepts and the idea of Gita and Sangeet, the song and the musician, that the song comes from within the musician, and when you look at the song you find the musician in the song as well, in the music, and that reality is that, like that Narayana is that musician and we are his song, we have come from him. But if you look closely enough in the music, you find him in it also. You find something about him, let's say.
Sweet,
in
nice,
that.
very nice picture.
And I think that's the true spirit of Kirtan also, in a sense that it's an outpouring of what we have inside. We are trying to bring it out. We're trying to, whether it's an instrument or vocally or whatever, we're trying to bring out what is inside. And when it's brought out, so it depends what you bring out. If you bring out your ego, that's what will be felt. If you bring out your heart, that's what will be felt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you bring out your soul, that's what will be felt. And I think if that understanding is there, and I hope you agree with me, that it can be as simple as that. It's like, choose what it is you want to bring out, and then the quality will automatically be there. Whether musicality is perfect, the pronunciation is perfect. I don't think, not to say don't care about those things, but
yeah, there's some little basic, like if you want to give a speech in English, you gotta talk English.
Agreed.
So if you want to play mridanga, or just learn the mridanga beats. Yeah. If you want to sing, at least learn to pitch the note. You know, if you want to drive, learn how to drive. You just, I'm going to drive, because to drive is an expression of my heart. Didn't you know how to drive? Go see what's going to happen to you in the next curve. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. Good. It's a good point to ground people. Yeah. I have a question. Given all this that we've talked about now, about like the depth of music and what it can do and whatnot, what is your opinion on the commercialization? Commercialization. Thank you. Of Kirtan, because I know of people, this is not my opinion, I'm actually going to tell you my opinion in a second, but I know of people that think it should never be commercialized. It cannot be charged for, because this is a spiritual sacred thing. It's seva, it's selfless. The minute there's a money coming back, it's no longer selfless. You can no longer call it seva, right? Automatically disqualified. And I know those that say, what are you talking about? You know, it's completely free for me to do whatever. Like if everyone has to make their living. People teach yoga and charge.
Yeah.
People teach Gita and charge.
Yes.
So we can also sing and charge. What is the problem, right? So my opinion...
Isn't
it? My opinion is love doesn't pay the bills, unfortunately. This is a realization a lot of people struggle to arrive at, and I think that people need to get to. I had somebody come to me in the darshan now in Spain. We had a darshan in Spain just before, recently. And an old lady came to me. I was standing outside the darshan hall. She comes to me and she says, how do you make money? And I just looked at her like, excuse me? Like, how do you make money? And I said, me personally? Or, no, this organization.
Huh.
And I said, well, we do events. Some are for free, such as the one you're in right now. Some are charged. And we have a shop, and we have a guest house, and we have restaurants, and we have donations. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, because I suppose you do have to, pay bills and stuff. I was like, you suppose?
Suppose in Germany.
Like, we have to eat. We have, just general life costs, right? And then people somehow think that the minute you do something religious or spiritual, money should not be a part of it, because it dirties it or something like this. So I'm very much in the pragmatic position of, as long as you need it, you can charge.
Yeah.
But if you don't need it, I would prefer you don't charge, because it's just better, more accessible, and less likely to be corrupted in a sense
inside of you.
internally.
Yeah.
Because you know you're not doing it for that, because it's not even a factor.
Once upon a time, I was talking to Guruji and you in the bungalow, and we were about to organize the first Kirtan festival. We were discussing, before we did Just Love Festival, 2 years before, Guruji was already teasing it. And Bhakti Marga was not strongly in the world Kirtan scene back then, how we are nowadays. So we knew some people, but mostly like we just watched the people, and some of us had made some contact and stuff like that. And then I was very influenced by that dream vision that money was not supposed to be involved. And I know the Sikh people are a lot like this, like the Guru Nanak tradition, like even food should be always for free. And it comes from some tradition that actually come from medieval India, which is a different kind of society from the modern world nowadays, where you could actually, you don't have a passport, you don't have an ID, you just retire to the forest, so no police is gonna put you in jail because you have no documents. That's the world is very different nowadays. But then I asked you guys because of this band, not gonna mention names, we were thinking about inviting this Kirtan band to come to our festival here. And then I said, they're charging so much. How come they're doing Kirtan spiritual? They're charging so much. And you and Guruji laughed at my face, like, look at this guy, such an idiot, innocent boy. And I don't know if you remember that boy or not.
It sounds like something I would do.
And I understood I understood that actually this is not a problem, if that you can live from that. If many musicians choose not to do anything else in life, they only do Kirtan, or they teach something related to Kirtan together. Normally we have to teach to survive. Most of 99% of the musicians in the world need to teach to survive. That's the truth. And
people only see the pop stars and think you can be like that. It's like,
But it's totally fine. If you need to charge for your survival or for your project to be living, it's totally fine. And you do have costs, because in fact, if there's no money involved, it's not that you are playing for free. You are paying to pay, paying to play. Because there's so many costs around. Not only about the flight and eventually the place you sleep in, but also the time that you spend for practicing with instruments and all sorts of technicalities. Everything costs, no? So if there's no exchange of this energy, it's impossible to make it happen in the first case. And then the second and most modern thought is like, if you make it a life, make it a job, but observe yourself, make sure you don't make a business out of it. Make it a spiritual and let it flow. You know what I mean? And then you understand whatever Krishna gives you, if he gives you abundant wealth, if he gives you enough to survive, be happy with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think also one thing to note is that if you make it a business, for example, you're a musician by profession and it's Kirtan, you want to sing the holy names of God. Well, first of all, you should be happy for that person that they're so lucky that they can actually work with the holy name. Most people don't have that luxury. But I just feel like those people should have also in their private time almost like a sadhana kirtan that is as pure as possible, like I said, without money, without all of these things, just to not lose track of like another spirit that can also be in there. Because one thing is when you work, one thing is when you fully, let's say, disengage from that mentality and you only do something for doing it. Like, for example, when I'm teaching, it's not the same thing as when I'm having a conversation. It's not the same. Like, I know very well the difference. I'm speaking in both situations, but one, I have a structure, I have almost a rigidity to it. I have an outcome. I have an audience that comes with a particular expectation. Whereas when I'm just in a corridor having a chat with you, for example, it's free. Yeah. And I think that's somehow the same thing in music should be there. Like sometimes there's a time to perform something rigid, let's say, conforming to an expectation and an environment, whatever. Another time to be more free. But I think it's an important conversation because there is this criticism out there. I've heard it enough times and I just wanted to address it.
I think nowadays you cannot avoid that money will be involved. It's impossible to run anything without it, unless you live in a village and you're calling somebody from the next village. You still have to send a horse there.
I've always found it so weird how society in general praises people who make a lot of money through business, but the minute they do it through spirituality or religion, you're criticized like it's hypocrisy, it's this, that, and the other, and it's like,
got this idea of the Christian monks that make the poverty vow, and also only the Hindu monks.
Yes, and yes,
so
also.
that's is there deep in everybody's judgment before you even conceptualize it.
Yeah, but I think they forget that makes up usually about 1% of the religion's population, the monastics, right? Those people who live to those ideals are very few. Majority of Hindus, majority of Christians, majority of whatever are grihastas, married people, householders.
Yeah.
And if they can make their living, which they're going to have to make anyway, doesn't matter what they're doing, in a religious environment that helps to propagate the religious ideas and to spread them and to take them further, why would you discourage that? Like, why would you throw stones at that? For me, makes no sense. But that is a viewpoint that I didn't always have. So, you met me at a point where I was able to laugh at you with Guruji. Perhaps if you'd met me a few years earlier, I would have been on your side of the conversation too. So.
And you have to understand culturally, sometimes in some places in India, you don't charge money for your programs. I can see maybe like big singers from South India like Vittal Das Maharaj. I actually don't know if he charges for his program, but he packs theaters in South India and he comes with like 20 guys, Of course they're not charging a price for everybody. So probably he says that's what I need, but actually it's not really charged. Actually they know the culture of donation is so big.
Right.
That the organizer will give him so much donation that's going to pay the cost and is going to help him at the ashram and is going to help him purchase whatever he needs. And they keep going because this culture of donations is very strong in some places.
This is ideal, I feel.
So you don't need to ask for money because you know that's going to come.
That's a cultural setting that I think permits a more pure version of it. I prefer that personally. Like if you have a strong donation culture, then you don't need to charge for things. You're still going to get your costs covered and everything is going to be fine. And you don't have that direct, let's say, relationship based off of money with the customer.
But imagine you do this in Europe, how it's going to be?
No, because the cultural setting...
How many people will donate here?
Right. The cultural setting doesn't match. That's it. So I think sometimes people need to understand that as well. That it's easier to live up to the ideal when there's an ideal setting for that ideal. So there I agree with you 100%. There's something that I really wanted to talk to you about, and I don't want to sort of finish this episode without touching upon it, and that is Guruji and your experience singing with him, for him, supporting him. And to do that, I'm going to kick it off by my own experience with Guruji. There were two things that really touched me with Kirtan and Guruji. In my first years of Bhakti Marga, Guruji was, as he's always been, very much into Kirtan. But I had some incredible experiences with him because it was a smaller mission, right? Much smaller mission. Our biggest events were like 300-400 people, and we were like, wow, what an event. And he was with the people. Like he would be with the people dancing, singing. It wasn't like a stage or anything like this. And I remember there was about a 6-month period, maybe 8-month period, where I did so many kirtans with him in a row, where Guruji would literally go into these like trances, almost like he would faint.
He would fall unconscious.
He would fall unconscious from from
above,
the ecstasy of the experience, from whatever it was, and it was so. It's never happened again. Like since those times, it's
not in that way.
In that way, it's never happened again. And so I sometimes share this with people, and they just go, "Wow, with Kirtan." I was like, "Yeah." He would be literally singing and dancing with us, and then be transported to another realm almost. And his body would be there, and we would sort of like just be fanning him and sort of waiting for him to return to us.
Chant mantra in his right ear.
Chant mantra, all sorts of things. And he would come back after some 10 minutes, sometimes however long it was. And it was just this thing of like, it almost felt like the kirtan was uncontrolled. Like it was just, we were like letting it go to whatever heights it could go to. Yeah. And it's always stuck with me. So that was somehow my baptism of fire into kirtan, like this stuff where I was just like, wow, this is where it can go. There was a danger to it. There was another side to it where because he was doing that, because it was so much of that, a lot of other people started to like, and they were fainting also and doing all of this. And you just go, oh God. Part of you wants to say, maybe that's true, but a big, big part of you says,
whatever,
man. What is this now? And so all of that started happening, and I remember even Guruji sort of commenting like, why do people have to be like that? Like they see something, and because of their fragile ego or whatever it is, they have to copy, they have to try to do the same. So I think part of why he stopped that also was because all of that was starting to come up.
Mm-hmm.
And my second experience with Kirtan that really touched me was, there was many years where Guruji insisted that I always play Mridanga for him.
I remember very well.
It doesn't matter who was there.
Yeah.
Better players than me were often there. This is a fact. But yet he asked me to play for him. And there was always this feeling inside of me. At first, pride. In the beginning, I was like, he wants me to play, I'm the best. Then when it becomes clear to you, you're not the best, because people just develop skills and clearly they become better. You can no longer lie like that to yourself. You know it's not true. Then actually started to come from me a little bit of shame, almost this shame of like, he wants me to play even though I'm not the best. I'm not working even necessarily to become better, and yet still he asks for me. And there was this interesting relationship of like, God, Guruji representing God for me in that moment, he's calling for you more than you are calling for him, in the sense like he wanted me to play for him more than I wanted to play for him in those moments. By the second half of that, period, because I felt embarrassed almost to go there, because I knew I was going to get something maybe wrong or
I remember this feeling that something was not really comfortable there.
No, at the end I wasn't, because also the musical talent around me was getting a lot better. I was comfortable in the beginning because musically we weren't as good. And then honestly, the talent increased. It got better, the musicality, the complexity. And so I felt more and more inadequate in that situation, to the point where he stopped insisting, because I was so much not wanting it, right? That he stopped insisting. And I can look back at that now and say that I made a mistake. Because, and it's okay, it's not a, career-defining mistake or anything like this, but I wanted to share that because he invited me at that time, really. He insisted on me giving myself to Kirtan and giving it a real effort and a real try. And I put my own judgment above his, and I put my own opinion about how things should be and how they shouldn't be, and my worth and my lack of worth or whatever, to the point where the distance was made, and then he didn't insist anymore. It was like, I'm not going to insist forever. Yeah, I've given you the platform, I gave you the push, I'm not going to keep going. So those are almost like two contrasting experiences I've had with Kirtan, where I've felt some beautiful moments, and then that I received teaching through Kirtan.
Yeah, he used the Kirtan as a tool
to teach me something else.
Do something with you.
Right?
Yeah.
What have been your experiences with Guruji specifically in Kirtan?
Oh, there's been
good and bad, if you are willing to share.
Yeah. I hope one day I really take the time to go deeper into it and really write something, because there's so much. And recently in a little satsang, I tried to go into it, and I realized I'm not, in my mind, for some reason, not organized enough to actually show how far this can go. First, I missed this time when he was falling in consciousness in trance. But then I have similar experiences, not that, but when you had the night kirtans, Guruji from time to time used to wake up everybody in the night. And there was one day he was singing a specific mantra, and then we sang for 4 or 5 hours, and he never opened his eyes in this all 5 hours, constantly looking at him. You're dancing in circles, and Guruji has his eyes closed for at least most of the time, for many hours and hours and hours. And at the end, he told us to roll on the floor. Were you there?
Yeah.
He said, roll on the floor, because even the dust of the floor is charged with the divine name. And then he told some people privately later on that he didn't open his eyes during the kirtan because he experienced the whole pastimes of Radharani. So it's, so this, I remember this not human moment, like Guruji is just not human, look at this. Like he's just not opening his eyes, he's moving, he's dancing. And then now, recently in Navaratri, I just saw him leave his body for some minutes and come back, and we also fanning him, and oh my God, will he come back ever? And then he comes, oh, so nice up there. And so this has been always part of Kirtan with Guruji. He is not a human. At least he's not a normal human. Huh? That should be obvious. And so I have my deepest, many of my deepest experiences were also related to Kirtan. But how deep this lessons goes and influence me in my life, actually, everything that I do in my life is connected to lessons that Guruji gave me through these moments of doing bhajan and kirtan with him, or around it. For some reason, I remember once I was making a tea for Guruji here in the lobby area. I was not a monk. I was still teaching outside in 5 music. I have like almost 40 guitar students, and I was playing the weekends, and I was coming for every event here that I could. And I just, as a joke, I look at Guruji and said, maybe I stop everything outside and only do music, spiritual music now. And Guruji had his back towards me when I said that as a joke. And then in that moment, Guruji stopped whatever he was doing. Like the vibration changed, the atmosphere changed. He stopped whatever he was doing, and then he slowly turned to me, and his eyes were like wet and red. No, his eyes just changed, and he looked at me deep in my eyes, like I remember my spine freezing. He just looked at me like this with his very wet, like tear eyes, and then he turned back. So he didn't react to my joke. I said that, so he stopped, looked at me in this very weird way, like deep in my soul, and then he turned back to do whatever he was doing while I was making this tea. And then I understood, oops, I said something. It feels like I just made a contract with him.
Not a joke, yeah.
Yeah. And I knew that's what about to happen. And it took maybe 1 year or less, and then I was a monk. So it has always been around it. Also, I remember once in Hawaii, in Maui, Guruji, after some event, we had some kirtan, which was nice, but also very difficult because there was not many musicians. I remember the harmonium player could not follow Guruji. I was playing mridanga, then I stopped playing mridanga, then I played the note in the harmonium. I said, play this note here, and then I go back to the mridanga, and then he was a bit angry that the beat stopped. And he looked at me afterwards in the house and said, do you think that I don't know that what you guys are doing there is not kirtan? There's no kirtan there. It's only ego, it's only competition, it's only bunch of pride. Don't think that I don't know that. And then he walk away, and he leaves this, your heart paining, bleeding, it's like he just put a knife slowly inside of your heart, So, but for even in the moments of playing itself, of kirtan itself, what I'm still developing and still learning a lot from directly with him, and also from some people around that are very good with it, is how to deepen the relationship with Guruji to the smallest details. Because if you're not used to play kirtan, music in general, actually, in a certain level, you understand that there's a certain communication that is much beyond verbal. And it's not only the eyesight, but it's the head movements, the hand movement. And when you do this with your guru, it's very different. So you start to understand whatever he wants just by the little movements. And when he actually look at you, it's already too far. It's already too much. You're already messed up. He should not have needed to look at you to give you that message. Change the beat. Sing the other part of the song. Sing together with me. Don't sing with me. Let the people sing. And all of these things are constantly happening. And these are all the small signs. And in the beginning, I was so blind to the signs. And nowadays, I see other people who are still totally blind to the signs. And I judge them, but I was exactly like that, like many years ago. And it took me so many years to play with Guruji in that level that I get what he wants so quickly. And it makes our relationship so close. It creates a bond, which is obviously a spiritual bond as well, through this relationship that you have in the kirtan. And still, from time to time, I mess up something, I don't see something, or like, what was the day? Some of the recent events, the last months, Guruji is just a player, I just cannot. When he wants to torture us, he's the best, spiritually, in a very spiritual way. So don't understand it wrongly.
He knows which buttons to press to get a reaction.
He knows what buttons to press.
To provoke, yeah.
So there's a specific part of a specific bhajan, which is actually a Kabir bhajan that he sings recently. He always sings this 2 times. But for whatever reason, he decided to sing this once. In Kabir bhajans, I know that I'm supposed to sing together with him the whole time. We always 2 voices. He always wants to be together. And he decided to sing that chorus only once, which is always twice, and then move on to the next verse. And I didn't get it. He actually made a little eye movement towards me, but I was also looking at the lyrics. I missed that. And literally after that, his face changed, and he was really in a bad mood towards me and towards the rest of the kirtan. So kind of my minimum mistake even affect how the whole kirtan and how everybody else joy was in it. No? So and like it gives you a little spiritual torture and makes you traumatized a little bit, so you get sharper for the next time. And it happened again when we were singing recently, Shri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama. Because it's very long, sometimes he likes to unite the verses. And he looked at somebody else. He looked at and said, we do it like this now. We just sing two. But I didn't see it because he looked at somebody else. But I cannot lose the attention on him. Even if I look at the paper, part of my attention has to be on him. Has to be. And the moment I missed that he was singing. So there was a moment we sang together, clashing things. And he literally, in the middle of the kirtan, let the paper down, stood up and left. Like, okay, you want to do it how you want to do it, so do it yourself until the end. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh my God. And then happily, afterwards, he came back again and we did more kirtan. But he does these little things, and he really teaches you for life. Like, you cannot lose the attention. You have to be always with him, and every little thing that you do plays a gigantic role. And yeah, you have to bring yourself to a level where the communication with him becomes the most natural possible and closest possible. And in kirtan, it's just a millisecond and you miss it.
Yeah, actually, I was just thinking that how kirtan is like, you can't hide. Like any mistake, it's clear for everybody to see. Like in some other services, it's not like that. Because everything, look, there's so many different ways to serve and to connect with Guruji, we know that. But like what you're describing to me now, like, so you're in a situation where you are serving him, yeah? Somebody else is in the kitchen cooking for him, for example, right? If they burn something, they can either take out that part or make a new one quickly or whatever, because they're just in the kitchen, nobody's watching them. Yeah. You get a wrong note, you play something wrong, you sing something wrong, you miss a cue from him about what he wants to happen to the song. It's there. It's public. It's to his eyes. It's to everyone else's eyes. It's a very high pressure situation. And I mean, I don't envy, any of you guys who are in that position, only because of, the weight of expectation. But at the same time, what a fortune, because maybe it's a process that is a bit more intense, but what you can learn from that seems to me at least to be incredibly valuable, like difficult to reproduce and replace.
I'll be very honest with some sharings here. Remember in 2013, Dharma was already passed, and Swami Kuru came in the name of Guruji and asked me to take over the International Music Organization. And then we had one of the first darshans, or satsang, I think it was. And I remember singing one bhajan with Guruji in the live stream. This different live stream we had back then, 2013, was this link there or whatever, Yeah,
I remember.
and after this bhajan, some time passed, and Kalyani came to talk to me. Remember Kalyani, of course?
Of course.
So one of the main Bhakti Marga singers for many years. And she came to me and said, look, I remember you were this new guy, and we knew you were the new music coordinator, and you are living by the ashram. And I heard you singing this bhajan, and I didn't understand. But this guy is so bad; he cannot sing at all. Like, why is Guruji putting this guy in that position? Because I was a guitar player. I was never a singer. I was singing a little bit to make some extra money with Brazilian music. I was never a singer.
I remember you telling me this. Yeah.
Guruji, actually, I still fully don't see myself as a singer yet. But I have to acknowledge the fact that many people see me as a singer.
Please do, because if you're not a singer, then it's a bit problematic for the rest of us.
Yeah, so I keep receiving messages that people say, oh, when you sing this, you sing that, blah, blah, blah. So, from non-devotees mainly, of course.
Yeah.
And then, so I have to understand that. But actually, Guruji is my singing teacher. In the university, I did have singer teachers as second, third option subjects, but never as a main subject. I never really put effort into it. Classic and jazz and stuff. And then made some short classes with Indians, but it was never my main focus of attention. So Guruji is actually by far my main singing teacher.
I've seen him do it.
Constantly giving feedbacks, constantly pushing, constantly beating, constantly putting me on the position. And for many years, I rationally didn't understand why he kept me there. Because for years, after every event or almost after every travel, he would come back on the airplane and say, I'll never take you again. Never, ever. You are so bad. Your Hindi, my God, is terrible. Your singing, my God, like you sound just like a white person. It's so weird. Like every event, every travel. And I was like, why he keeps taking me? Like, I will not complain. I will keep quiet. It hurts a lot. Sometimes my ego would jump from the plane, like want to jump under the next truck. Like, but for years, until there was some change in me, and I am not really a fast learner in most of the things. You know, in my whole life, I like to observe and learn how to learn. Because I understood that learning is not like to learn how to drink water or to learn how to make exercise or to learn an instrument. It's not different learning. Somehow you tweak your brain to learn how to learn for yourself. And then there's a certain scheme, a certain process that you can apply for almost everything. And I understood that I was never the fast learner in the beginning, but for some reason, I have it easy to be consistent. And then while most of the people stop after they are very fast, quick in the beginning, I am consistent, I keep going, and I somehow exceed and become good at certain things. It was like this in the guitar. I remember my neighbor on the building I used to live in Brazil, who was much better guitar player than me, but I kept going, and after 2 years, I was beating him in our own playground competition, you know what I mean? And when I was skateboarding in Brazil, it was the same. I was the slowest guy, but I just kept going. The guy stopped and I was doing things better than them after 1 year. And consistency was always better than the speed of learning. And I wonder how much Guruji could see like in advance and how much he, like it just, again, it's not human. Like for 4 years, I've been just destroying Guruji's events, let's say like this.
It was long-term investment, right?
Because it's a very long-term investment. He can see how far you can go, and I could not see because I really didn't understand logically like why he keeps saying I'm the worst ever and he will never take me again, but he's taking me again. And to a point where now I start to understand now that he gave me this red clothes as a Rishi, and I have to understand that Seva starts to change. Now I'm kind of ready to say, look, I hope that new people come, and I hope I can make them ready to follow Guruji. And I fail to see a lot of people that actually can do it because it's so many things that have to be in line. You know?
I can very much relate to you from
your
knowledge side of stuff.
So many things have to be in line that you can really like trust and take it, man. And I'm gonna serve from here. I'm gonna help you. Yeah. Because when I made mistakes before in my life here already in Guruji was very angry with me. He told me, find somebody and train somebody to substitute you. And then I choose. I said, Guruji, what about this person? No, this person. No. What about this person? No. And they're like, you didn't even find somebody. I still have to take you. You know what I mean? And this kind of things, and it was such a hard game. And I tell you, if we listen to our ego, we literally missed the chance of our lives. Like there was a lesson with Swami Tusidas, my first travel with Guruji. So Rishi Tusidas back then, Swami Tusidas now, and Guruji in Lanzarote. It was my very first travel with Guruji, really, where I had to take care of music and something. In a darshan there, and it was some retreat. Swami Tusidas made puja to his Paranita Narasimha, and he came with this tangerine, and he gave me prasad, and he gave Guruji a bunch of prasad from his Narasimha. And Guruji came and gave me. I said, no, Guruji, I already took prasad. And Guruji looked at me like quite angry and said, never say no to your guru, because you never know what is he giving you.
Yeah.
You never know. Like he can give you everything in that little act here. So never say no to your guru. So that lesson, happily, he gave me that because...
Unless you're meant to say no.
What
Do
also
you
exists.
want to go back into the material world and throw your life away?
No. Yeah, of course.
Never say no.
You have to understand the game. You have to understand the game.
Sure.
But like, this held me of being stupid and saying, Guruji, if you say that I'm so bad, why you keep taking me?
Yeah.
You know, like letting my ego speak.
This victim thing, yeah.
Play the victim role and just understand. I keep quiet. I take the beat. By your grace, one day will be good enough. I'm still far from good enough, but so much better than than it used to be. And nowadays, it's quite rare that this big beatings happen.
Yeah. No, I can relate on a lot of levels.
You actually observe my whole process. You could even probably say better than me.
Well, I have this tendency to observe people a lot, and then but the problem is Guruji does that too, but he doesn't judge and I do. That's the difference. But, it's funny because as you were speaking, obviously I can relate to a lot of what you're saying from the knowledge side of things. Many parallels, and one of the things you said about sometimes, your ego wants to jump out of the plane or whatever it was. I had that when Guruji in the beginning, because he asked me to start the academy back in 2015, and I was at that time, maybe one of the only teachers. There was a couple of others who would sometimes teach, but really, Myron was there, and even Swami Chitta at the time and others, but it was really me. Because I actually started teaching already here at this ashram from 2011. I was doing like Just Love study circles and Guru Gita study circles and
our academy meetings in the light hall.
Yeah. And so whenever he would criticize knowledge in itself almost, or people who study books and all of this kind of stuff, he would sometimes look at me when he says stuff like that, and I'd be like, but it's the weirdest thing ever to now define me as such a person, when the only reason that I am doing these things is because I never did it before, and you criticize that. So like I got into knowledge because he criticized me for never having been into knowledge before, and then I was just like, okay, fine, I'll read a book, and and then he started to do this, and I was like, it was always like getting at me. And then sometimes he would make it personal. He would criticize me specifically never about what I was teaching. I have to say, to this day, he has never criticized a single lecture or satsang that I've ever given. But he would often criticize the attitude, like what it would make me proud and make me arrogant and thinking that I know everything, and those kind of things he would criticize. And so often I had that experience of like my ego wants to jump out and on all this crazy stuff. And one of the realizations that I came to at the time was that I don't want to be defined just as the knowledge guy or just as the academy guy. It's not healthy. And I don't think Guruji wants me to be defined that way either. And what you said about find someone, he had said the same to me. And look, now I'm replaced in knowledge by Swami Akash. Swami Akash is there. And already Guruji's got his eyes on replacing Swami Akash with the next one. Because also he shouldn't get defined by that. And so it's this constant thing. And he's been pushing me lately, actually. We were in, I don't know if it was Spain or Portugal, where he said to me, you don't have any new bhajans to sing, by the way?
You look at you?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. It wasn't at the darshan, it was in between. And I said to him, no, but are you requesting? And he's like, yes, I'm requesting.
Yeah, because that's how he does.
Right. So then I'm like, I noticed this push, and I also, just from my own observations of life, agree that it's not healthy for any one of us to define ourselves by the seva and sadhana that we do, because it can change from 1 minute to the next, firstly. And it's not good for us to be defined by that in the eyes of the other people, because the things should not be interconnected. Everybody's replaceable.
100%.
And Aaradhaka should not equal Bhakti Marga music. I should not equal Bhakti Marga knowledge, from both directions. Because then if they like you, or if they don't like you, it will also impact their liking or disliking of Bhakti Marga music. And the same with me and knowledge. And that's not healthy. And then from my own definition, if I limit myself only to knowledge, then I'm not exploring the full potential of my devotional life. And the same for you. And I think it's a good point for all of us to see that the reason we have this thought and the reason we are like this now is because Guruji pushes us to be like that and teaches us to be like this. And he pushed you into music. He pushed me into knowledge the same way he's somehow at times pushing you almost out of music and me out of knowledge.
Yes.
To continue the growth and to make it healthy. And I feel like that's an important sort of observation as well.
Things will happen naturally, but we have to...
Don't identify too strongly, I think, with the sadhana and the seva that you do. I think that's just a general... Well, also, if for people outside, I was going to say it's a Bhakti Marga thing. No, for people outside of everything, your life circumstances, your job, whatever it is, like do it and love it, but don't define yourself by it. But you don't know what's coming next. Like people, one of the podcasts I recorded recently was with Krishna Manohar Stefano, and he was a dentist, quite prominent dentist, and now he's a travel blogger. Like those are not logical links necessarily, right? And so it's like you don't know what things are going to change, and if you do define yourself too rigidly, he could have had the mentality of that's crazy, I can't go do those things, I'm a dentist. And so whenever people have said about me, "Oh, you're a mind guy, isn't it?" I just push back. I'm like, "Nah, don't." Every time I hear that, that doesn't work for me.
In fact, you are actually also a Kirtan guy.
What? Even
you have
that,
always been.
I am a
But don't
devotee
define
of
even
God.
that.
I'm a devotee of God. And how can a devotee of God ever be only a mind guy or only a Kirtan guy or only a knowledge guy? You're a devotee. And so wherever devotion is, I should follow. Wherever devotion is.
Last night, Vatsala, who's a devotee who lives here, he was telling Guruji the first darshan where he met Guruji in Torino. Is it how called?
Could be, yeah. I mean, I know Torino is a city. Yeah. I don't know if that was his first
darshan. It was
but
the darshan where we were there together 2014, 15. My first thought was, that was like that sport hall where Swami Revatikaanta is saying this very long Mahamantra Kirtan. It was very nice.
I did, yeah. Anyway. Okay, Aaradhaka, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope we have a chance to dive deeper into this. And I hope you're right, what you said about, your experiences with Kirtan and everything else. I think it'd be really valuable. Especially in connection with Guruji and everything that he does through Kirtan to change people and to
thank you for the conversation. It feels we just started. It's actually a lot to be said.
Cool. Okay.
Well, one day.
Jai Gurudev.
Thank you so much.